this is the culture. It's like, oh, narcissistic psychopaths, they're the fucking best thing. Why don't I do that? All right, let me know how you get on living like that. Why are we hypernormalizing emotionless sex and how to survive in this world of that kind of dating? I don't think long-term survival is an option. If we're going to keep playing this game, we have to change the game. My hypothesis, it's just a hypothesis. I'm not saying this is how it works. I'm just a guy who thinks about stuff. I think what has happened in multiple areas of life, but really I see it very strongly in dating today in 2020, not dating fucking 15 years ago or even 10 years ago, is you have a number of people in the environment who are narcissistic psychopaths, not just narcissists, not just psychopaths, but full-blown narcissistic psychopaths. So say if you have like a group of 500 boys, 500 girls, sorry to be heteronormative, let's keep it simple. It works exactly the same way in the gay community. It's exactly the same thing. So we have 500 girls and 500 boys. And out of those 500, there's really only going to be 5 true narcissistic psychopaths, perhaps even less. But of those 5 in that 500, they will become the most significant, highest status, most high leverage people in that environment. The other 495 monkeys in that group, I'm saying boys and girls so that we have a goal-oriented game in place. It's dating. You mentioned dating. So they're trying to mate, they're trying to bond, they're trying to date, mate, and bond. So the other 495 who are not narcissistic psychopaths say, hey, I see what those fuckers are doing, and it's working. So I'm not a dating guy. I'm not a dating coach. I don't claim to understand all that stuff. But when I'm talking to people who are in that field, I always ask, what's the objective? So I've heard a lot of guys saying to me, I do this method and it's working. And then I say, what's the objective? And they look at me like I've grown a second head. And I'm like, hang on a sec, you said it's working. It can only, the verb working means there's an objective, means you're moving towards something. What are you moving towards? Are you moving towards love? Are you moving towards the most number of partners you can get? Are you moving to, like, what's the game? What are you, when you say working? So you have a situation where people see the narcissistic psychopath strategies and behaviors working. What is working? And all of you have to answer this for yourself. This is why when people would ask me about dating, I'd be really facetious about it and say, I'd answer them and be like, I don't do it, or I don't think it exists, or I think this is stupid Western decadence. I don't believe in it, which I really don't. I think it's a vague hold all concept that really needs defining, not for a collective, but for you. You as an individual, if you're dating, you need to know what the hell is up. Like, what are you trying to get done? What is the objective? So you asked the question, why is it hypernormalized to have emotionless sex? Because we're now living in a culture where everybody thinks the only way to live is to act like a narcissistic psychopath. I've changed my tune on this one. I used to be very defiant and say there's no chance that there's a genetic component to this. I now think that there's a genetic and it's an epigenetic phenomenon. And I'll say this, if your natural inclination isn't narcissistic psychopathy, you don't have that in you, but you try to live like that, as actually the majority of people do. The majority of people are trying to live like narcissistic psychopaths. You will go crazy. You'll go completely batshit crazy, because the coordinates of a narcissistic psychopath are alien to humans. They're alien. The only people, there's not a should, but the only people who can live like that are narcissistic psychopaths. And when you try to do it, you will hurt yourself. You'll end up very traumatized by it. Very traumatized by it. Because it's a very sick way to live. But this is the culture. It's like, oh, narcissistic psychopaths, they're the fucking best thing. Why don't I do that? All right, let me know how you get on living like that. So we now have, as a consequence of that, an extremely love deficit environment.